Hi guys, how are you doing? So we just had a little pan around the job, but there's people all in there and stuff, so we're coming out to the van to do a little bit of discussion about what's going on. Now, I did have the pleasure to come and see this job previously before we've attempted to do any work on it, and the ceiling there with a kind of what I'd call a laminated broken leather, where they've done the broken leather pattern, and then sort of like run a bit of perspex over it and flattened it in. So fortunately we don't need to scrape anything. This building, this house was built in the 80s, so I've been informed. And when I came here, there was a light fitting in the middle of the living room there. And you could see every single joint, and it looked absolutely horrendous. Because now, on hindsight, because we've just taken the light down, and it doesn't look half as bad in there. It doesn't look... I've got my own little light in there as well, which I've just been holding up and shining so we can cast it across there. But this light is circular, and it was beaming out light all the way around the circle and casting that shadow all the way across the ceiling. And I didn't quite pick up on that immediately, but when I first walked in, I was like, oh my god, this is like the worst artexing I've ever seen. And I'll get a rule up in a minute. I haven't done that. So I discussed with him what you want to do, and he didn't like coving. So I said, look, this is so up and down, we're really going to like have trouble regulating this against the coving if we want to straighten it out, because you've got the lip of the coving and it's the regular old coving, so the coving's rolling with it as well. So if they're going to be using that light fitting, which they are, and he said, oh well, I don't like coving, I'll get rid of it if I could. I said, well, let's do that. Which has opened up a small can of worms, in the sense that when they built the property, they must have known it was to be coved, and they haven't gone with the boards all the way up to the internal walls, corners, up to the ceiling. There's some gaps there, and they haven't taped it either, so they've relied on the coving to be holding the ceiling to the wall. So we've got a little bit of filling to do there. Taking the coving off, I'll show you how to do that. I'll just describe it to you at the moment. Now, the easiest thing I find, sometimes coving just pops off lovely jubbly. Okay, you just go bang, 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 pop, get the hammer behind it, pop it off. Now, we're not plastering the wall, so we need to be as delicate as we can in removing it. So we don't want to cause any excess damage, because it looks like what's going to happen, I'm going to plaster the ceiling, and then maybe at a later date is going to sand and fill and all that stuff with filler to the walls and sort the wall bits out, so I don't need to come down the walls. So I don't want to damage the walls up too much, and it's all into plasterboard. Some areas have been dot and dabbed, some are tacked, but we're all into plasterboard, so I don't want to be prizing it and damaging that paper of the plasterboard as much as possible. Now, this is not coming off that easy. Now, one thing that is, I'll show you, half decent bolster, not too blunt, not too sharp. What you need to do, because if you start tackling the bolster or whatever it is through the coving, so let's say the coving's like running this way, what you're doing is, if you start hitting the top or the bottom, you're working against both joints at the time, plus there's nowhere for it to go. So what I like to do, and I find it is very, very helpful, is cut a line straight through the middle of the coving where you know there's a void, and then when you do come across the top and the bottom, the coving has got somewhere to shift, plus you're only fighting that one bit of adhesive, because you've taken the strength out of it. You're not fighting two of them, and let's say you've created that gap in the middle and it's got somewhere to shift, so then it's coming off nice and easy, or as easy as possible, with at least amount of damage as possible. If there is a little bit of adhesive left, because we want it to come off clean, then you can tackle it instead of coming up and down on your adhesive, because you'll have a strip of adhesive. Then you can turn your bolster this way and come at it, so you've got the least resistance and you can get it nice and flush. And it seems to be working for us. So let me get in there and show you exactly what I've just been talking about. So we have managed to get all this coving off. So what I did with this griller tub is, look, just had that there so I can just chuck it. Because in the way it's coming off in chunks, it's not all popping off in one nice bit. So we're just throwing it in there, and then from there, I'm bagging it up. So let's have a closer look at what we're left here and what is happening. So obviously, because they knew that this was to be coved, they haven't brought the board all the way up to meet the ceiling, and there's no tape joining the ceiling to the wall. We can see here we've got the old tacks. Okay, so this was built in the 1980s, so they're not to be tacked up like this anymore, they are to be screwed up. So there you go with that one. We've got a lot of this paper here that's breached. Now it seemed to come off a lot cleaner on the ceiling edge when we've taken the coving off, and I think that's probably because before they would have artex this ceiling, they would have sealed this probably with a PVA, so all this would have been sealed, and that's why it's kind of like this adhesive which looks like bonding compound. It's the same stuff they've used to dot and dab the board to the wall. If it's not, they've used coving adhesive, which probably is very much exactly the same thing. Now, when we was taking it off, it's actually pulled the paper away, but only a little bit of the paper, whereas on the wall here, it's been much more stubborn. I think that's maybe because it's gone over straight onto plasterboard, because this wouldn't have been sealed, whereas they would have had to seal the ceiling. So ironically, even though it's got a better grab on the ceiling, it actually came off a lot cleaner. Now, all these bits of paper here, probably best off taking the worst bits off, but we are going to seal it again. So if we've got any annoying little bits such as this, don't worry, when we get the PVA or whatever primer it is that you're using over that, it will restabilize these and kind of like glue them back, because it will soak in through the paper and get in there to a certain amount of depth. Now, one of the issues is as well, because they knew it was being coved, see, we've caused quite a bit of damage here. Now, the reason this has happened is because, look, the bounce in this, there's no dot and dab up here because they've relied on the coving holding this together. So, in the interest of making this easier, it's kind of grown a little bit for me. We was looking at getting this ceiling done in one day, but I don't think that's going to happen now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to knock up some bonding, and I'm going to fill this deficit here with some hard plaster. There was, you know, you probably could foam it, but because we've got things going on like this bounce here, if we did foam it, the foam is obviously very foamy and it won't really stabilise up quite as well. So what we're going to do is get some hard plaster in, it's going to bleed down, and it's going to start holding this floppy edge. So this literally just came away with the coving. As it was coming up, it just ripped a whole chunk off because there was just nothing holding it to the wall. I can feel a dab there actually, that's their last dab. So it just came away. What else we are going to do is we are going to put this light back up. I'll show you why in a moment. So that's where we're at. Next thing is, I think, to get this light back up, although whilst I'm waiting for that to happen, I'll probably knock up some bonding and start filling this gap now. Okay, so we just run over everything with a coat of PVA, and I've also taken a brush all the way around the edge, and you can see there where the light is catching it. Look, that's how far down the wall I've come, trying to stabilise this loose paper area and where I've taken off the adhesive for the coving. Now, this is what we tried to emulate, because this is what I saw when I first came around, and I don't know if it's coming out as bad as it looks to the naked eye on video. but it looks quite severe. So we've pulled the blinds down and covered the light source up, because this is the issue that I saw with this particular light, how it seems to be casting light out to the side, which is really showing up these joints. And I thought to myself, crikey, they're pretty bad joints, aren't they? Look at them when I first came here. And of course, we've taken the coving off now, but that particular type of coving is quite flexible. So that was waving up and down with the contours as well, like wrapping itself like a snake over these ridges. So that's why I was saying, if I want to try and straighten these up and get rid of them, we're really going to struggle with the profile of the coving. So, and I say the customer said, I don't like coving anyway, can we just get rid of it? I said, yes, certainly. So we took the coving off, and it's revealed that they didn't bother going all the way up to the ceiling, which is what we're about to fill. Now, let's have a look up here, if we can see. So there's a deficit there. There was a worse one over here, I think. Hold on a second, just bear with me. Like I say, I'll come up and have a look at this one. And there we go, so have a look at the difference in there. So we're really, I'll get back a little bit and you can see that really pivot in there. And it seems to go flat. And then a little bit pivoty there, look. It seems to go in the opposite direction, so I've got to get a stop bead on this edge. It's curling around. That's quite handy, it's doing that actually, because we can bring the stop bead out to hit that. So I was thinking, crikey, that's bad, isn't it? But when we took the light down, it didn't look quite so bad because of the way this is casting, you know? And I thought, God, even if that light is casting across there, it's still quite bad. And I think what the problem has been, if we look at this and investigate. So these are the plasterboards that we've revealed that they've used. And these are square edge plasterboards. So this is why I believe this guy's had to build up a layer over these, because normally you have a tapered edge. So it creates a little trough there for your filler, your joint filler and everything to go in there, and it should stay level. But he hasn't had this, and they're not on the walls either. So that's why it's built out as much as it is. Doesn't look too bad, does it? And to be honest with you, it is actually not too bad. I think this one over here is a little bit worse as far as I can get. But of course the same has happened on these walls. And as soon as you cast the light in the fashion we are, it shows up the tiniest imperfections. Okay, so that is what we've been up to since I filmed the last little clip. So what we've done is just ease out. You can see there where it's really tight. And we've used a 20x5 carbon steel trowel by Marshall Down, and we've kind of straightened this up as best we can using that larger trowel. And also we've come across all the way around where the coving has been removed. So I think we're looking in a better state, and there's not much more we can do right at this moment until this picks up. So initially, to fill the deeper gaps, I used this stuff. I didn't realise it was, I picked it up from another job. I didn't realise it was bonding 60 minutes, so it's even faster than regular bonding. Use that just by itself, the bonding coat, not to be confused with bonding compound, although they are very similar in colour now. The bags are, and also the powder is. So yeah, bonding, doesn't actually say coat, does it? Repair range. Just be careful not to get bonding compound. And then for this feathering out bit, to give it a little bit more movement, a little bit more life, and the ability to feather it out a little bit, all we've done is just mix it up with a little bit of this multi-finish. So we're just going to leave this alone to pick up for a little bit before we come back to it. So I think that's probably about as much as we can get on with today. We can remove this light again. Now we've used it to... I'm quite pleased the way that you see the shadow around it. It's not too bad, is it? It's quite circular to the actual light. So yeah, now we've used it to reveal all the nasty joints and everything, and we've done what we can with that up. Got it all flattened, and then we can remove it, and I can switch back to this so we can plaster underneath it, etc. These here, if you remember, there's some quite sizable gaps in there. So what I did was scrim flush up to the ceiling with the first scrim, and then with the second scrim, see it's gone onto the ceiling and just curled round slightly. And I have peppered it with staples all the way along to keep it up. And now I have also PVA'd everything that's brown. Okay, PVA'd all down the walls, down a nice amount down here. So when we do feathering, we're not going to be, see where the shine is there. So we're probably going to come down to somewhere like that, but you know, PVA, let's get down there because we've got to feather it out. We want to make sure we've covered all the areas that could possibly need some plaster on it. We decided to put a curve up here, which I formed initially with my freehand on here to take the weight out of it because there's a straight edge there. Put a tiny little curve on it, and I managed to curve the stop bead there, again peppered with a load of staples all the way down behind it, nice and solid, because these do have a tendency to flap around a bit. So yeah, I think that's about it for today. Tomorrow morning I will PVA the whole ceiling again, because it's still a bit wet at the moment, so I want this PVA, and it's handy to get the PVA done the night before it gets all night to cure, and then I'm going to PVA a lot again because I want this to really not suck, and I want all the playtime I can get to flatten things out and stay in control of everything. It might not seem much, but just doing these little bits in time with the ceiling as well, just coming down and repairing where the coving is, you might see it's just a little bit, but there's a lot of feathering and it does take a lot of time as well to kind of like sort this silly little edge out all the way around, as well as doing the main part of the ceiling. So let's get this light down and I will see you tomorrow morning. Right guys, it's tomorrow. I've got a little camera again today. Right, so we are back in the room, and I did PVA this when this was all wet yesterday, but you can see that I'm just getting some PVA over it now. That's kind of like the consistency we got. And you can see a stark difference where I've been and where I haven't been. So you can see where it's changing colour, so which means this is still drinking in water. Okay, that's where I didn't get at all look around the light because I didn't want to get. So that's why I'm PVAing all this. Look, I've just missed a bit here. We can see it perfectly. So to make sure that this suction is under control, we really need that PVA to be sitting around for a little bit and not being drawn straight up into the surface. Okay, when it starts sitting around a little bit and we have to wait a few minutes for it to start dry, that's a good indication that the suction is under control, because this painted area already had a coat of PVA before I put all this stuff on. I'm running over it again, but this is going to be high suction, this painted area is going to be low suction, so we need to balance that out. Let's just stop again at the same point. Now I've come across all this. Now look, you can see PVA is sitting for a lot longer now. This is where I've got to. You can see a stark difference. This is where I got to, this is where I've finished. So there we go, that's how much we've got left in the bucket. That's how much I've got on my hook, which is virtually nothing. We was down to the exact amount we needed for this ceiling, and it's gone on rather nicely indeed. So what we're going to do now is turn straight back round and flatten this all in immediately. So using the light and stuff like that in a darkened room, it really helps see what's going on. So when I held the light up initially at a certain angle, it didn't look that bad, and then when I held out and cast a shadow down the side, then you saw all the bleed through of the pattern coming through on that artex. So what we need to do is just leave that alone for a little bit longer. Even if you want, give it a couple of flattens. But we need that to pick up a little bit so it starts holding itself together and stops sagging under its own weight. If I really wanted to go for it and you know, stick my neck out, probably I could start going around the tops and start coming down that scrim area where we took the old coving off, and we had to bond up the gaps where they hadn't dot and dabbed completely up into the walls, up to the ceilings and stuff. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just concentrate and make sure we do a really, really good job on that ceiling. Not only that, the guy here who I'm doing some work for gives me quite a bit of work, and I know he's going to be watching this video later. So yeah, I want him to see we've really scrutinised and given him the best quality possible, always. Okay, so I have just put the second coat on. I haven't turned back to flatten it in yet, so you can see the condition there of which we managed to get it on nice and neat, and that's because I did give it a second flatten, by the way. I had time to do it, it hadn't picked up completely. So I'm going to turn straight back round now with the 20x5 carbon steel trowel, wherever I put it, that's hiding behind me. And I'm also going to use it in conjunction with a really nice little wet brush, because I find they're good for keeping internals really tidy. Big chunky ones splash water all over the place. 4-inch, sort of like masonry, whatever they call them. Half decent quality, I think is perfect. So here, this is what I mean with these little wet brushes, and I tend not to, because they're nice and fine, you can get away with brushing the water on, which gives you a more regulated dispersal. If you start splashing it on there, then your trowel will grab different bits like higher globules and stuff, and it will stretch them across the ceiling, and that is how you start getting tiger marks, because where there's been an excess of water and where there's no water, where you've splashed it on, then that weakens the plaster in certain areas and causes streaks, and they will start to reveal themselves later on in the process. So this initial one, look, hardly any water at all, just roughing that surface up, and at this stage, because it's the first time a wet brush is seeing it, got a little bit of residue building up. Let's have a touch of this. I feel it's quite grainy, so we can use that and push that back into the ceiling. Should there be any little areas, ripples that you need to fill up, little holes, etc. And we just carry on doing that across the whole surface. Moment of truth. And left it dark so it would show up any of these shadows. It may still be undulations in the ceiling.
We have light?
We have light, mate. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. There's no immediate shadows that we can see. I think we've done a pretty good job at ironing that out as best we can.
Spot on, mate.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that ceiling took it out of me a bit. So we're going around the edges now, filling up where that coving line was. I got that new trowel. If you've been keeping up with the episodes and stuff, I bought that new trowel, that Rafina Flex Free, because generally I'll go into one another time about it, but it needs breaking in, really. It's a bit of a sharp edge on it, a bit of a sharp square edge. I'll go into one about breaking in trowels on another video, but that's what I'm using, you might have noticed. start breaking it in. I'm using it to feather in where that coving was, because I can't really use a stiff carbon steel trowel because it's so stiff. It creates its own level. It won't feather out, and we want to feather out into the contours of the wall that are already there. So you know, you're not really supposed to put on with flexi trowels, but when you're faced with something like that, they are pretty handy for feathering in. Alright guys, thanks for watching that video. It was a fairly long one, 37 minutes without this little clip on the end. Yeah, that was alright. It came out really nice in the end. I was, you know, sometimes you think actually that we did really well to sort that out. Not everybody will understand what you did to make that ceiling as flat as it is. Now I'd like to go back, and I will go back, and I will see it when it's painted, because that's where the proof will be in the pudding, isn't it? So if they see any shadows after that's been painted, and I'll get to see if they put any roller marks in it as well. So I've got to go back there and do another ceiling, which is a similar thing, and apparently we'll be there later in the week, next week or whatever. So guys, yeah, let's wrap this one right up there and then, and thanks for watching again. Don't forget about the Facebook group Plaster Master Smurf 74. Come over there if you want to talk to me and other plasterers. Other than that, thanks for watching, and oh, don't forget with the memberships now, you might, I've scheduled the video now goes to a membership section. So if you want to watch that video immediately, then you need to be a member. But it does it now. It made me sort it out. It made me set it up. Don't click on the membership thing. There's nothing on there. All it is because I might. Shall I get this up tonight or tomorrow? It's Friday. Not always a good time to put a video up on Friday nights, so people go out and stuff, but it is a bit rainy. So let's say heads, we'll try and get it up tonight. If it's towels, I'll get it up for tomorrow morning. It's heads, so I'm going to try and get it up tonight. So if I was going to get that up tomorrow, then what I'll do, I'll get it all rendered on the computer, then upload it to YouTube, and then I schedule it. And for that period of time whilst it's scheduled before it comes out, it will go, members only can watch this. But don't worry, don't click on it. There's nothing on there for members. If you see one of my videos and it says, oh, members only, don't worry, it's not going to be members for long. It's just because it uploaded at an unreasonable time, and I've scheduled it to go on at a more reasonable time, when you're more likely to get more people watching it on that initial 24 hours, if you like, because that's what the algorithm likes. The algorithm also likes you subscribing, and it also likes you liking my video as well. And there's this other feature now called the hype button. Oh, you hype it? Yeah, that'd be handy. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Won't be far away. Take it easy.